being the hour of 7 p.m., the Thursday, March 9th, 2017, Holbrook Public Schools School Committee meeting will commence. If you would all please join us in pledging allegiance to our nation's flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next on the items we have citizens' concerns. Are there any citizens who have concerns? Yes.
I have to,
Could you please identify yourself?
Danielle Hara, in the reference to the Bulldog logo, and asking that we can form a subcommittee for the decision-making on the logo.
Thank you. Are there any other citizens' concerns? Yeah.
Are we gonna talk about the youth survey tonight?
It's on the agenda.
Is it on the agenda?
Yes.
Oh, great, I didn't know, okay, thank you.
Okay, great. So, any other citizens' concerns? That's it, thank you. So now we'll turn to reports, and we have our student advisory committee member, welcome.
Thank you. I'm just solo today, and we don't have.
Tell everyone your name.
Danielle Mercier, and I'm part of the student advisory board. So for academics, as most of you know, we're having parent-teacher conferences tonight, and progress points went out. Hopefully all the kids did well. I know I did. For student government, we have a lot of fundraising going on. The National Junior Honor Society is doing the Penny for Patients, where each homeroom got little boxes, and each kid got one. And all of the money that is donated goes to kids with leukemia. So each homeroom, as an incentive, whichever one wins the most money, is given a free Olive Garden meal. So collect those pennies. Calendar raffles are sold by National Honor Society. They started this month, so I know I hit up a lot of you guys for the raffle, and you guys will be hearing soon when you win, if you bought one from me. And this will benefit the American Cancer Society, and of course, scholarships for National Honor Society members. And Student Council is selling a lot of Holbrook gear, some throwback jerseys, sweatshirts, spirit jerseys, and sweatpants. So, Barbara stay beside me right there. So you can get your apparel soon. And raffle baskets are out in front of the office, and they are being picked tonight, so get them as soon as you can. For athletics, coaches versus cancer game, the boys won. It was a great game. They went on to win the league championship. Not league championship, sorry. They were league champions, so they won the league. And unfortunately, they lost their first game, but it was a great game for those of you who attended. Kyrie LaPlanche, I believe, was named league MVP, which is a great honor. And then Daniel Correa, Kyrie, and Jeremiah were named league all-stars. And for the girls, Danielle Mercier, which is me, I was named a league all-star as well. Thank you. And another proud accomplishment, which I'm really proud of, is we won the St. Joseph's tournament once again this year. I was able to coach, and I can say that I have a couple players in here right now. They did a great job, and I couldn't be prouder. And other than that, the performing arts, they're actually rehearsing right now, and they're getting ready for the play, or musical rather. And I'm hearing it's going to be great. So other than that, I'm all set.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sounds very exciting. So now we have the Civics Club, who's going to make a presentation. You have the floor.
The kids are actually going to explain a little bit, and I have a picture that you can pass around, and a letter from Senator Keenan. There's one for everybody. So, go ahead, Bridget.
On December 7th, 2016, Civics Club witnessed the signing of our bill S-2181, designating September 21st as Feast Day in Massachusetts and the Massachusetts state law during the special signing ceremony at the Massachusetts that started by brainstorming ideas for conversation topics. We discovered the Martin Richard Foundation and immediately connected with the message, no more hurting people, peace. Our partnership with the MR8 Foundation has led a solid relationship between the Holbrook Public Schools and Martin Richard Foundation. As we witness the signing of all 58 were wearing the logo of MR8 Foundation, given to us by Miss Richard in a visit to the South School the day before the signing. We would like to give you each one.
Civic Club was invited to address the executive conference of YMCA leaders at Stonehill College in June, where the executive director of the South Shore YMCA pledged to collaborate with us, prompting the values of peace, harmony, tolerance, and global unity. He commended the students for being the voice of our generation.
Lieutenant Governor Polito spoke to us before the signing of the official signing. She said we had accomplished something that many veteran politicians have not accomplished. We actually moved the bill successfully through both the Senate and the House. Lieutenant Governor Polito said the incredible thing was that we accomplished this while in 6th and 7th grade. Our big discussion among ourselves was who is going to listen to a 6th grader. But Senator Keenan had faith in us, and Mrs. Clover encouraged us to keep motivated. Mr. and Mrs. Richard were and still are proud of us, and we felt that was a motivating factor, something that would ensure Martin's memory in a positive and peaceful manner.
Not only did we introduce that legislation, the governor's office offered us, the students, the opportunity to write 3 sections of this law. Whereas in recent years, the children of Massachusetts have traveled through their educational years against a backdrop of a world which has continually been assaulted by random acts of kindness.
Whereas our youth and all residents embraced the word of founding Father John Adams when he wrote in the preamble of the Massachusetts Constitution that a purpose of government is to furnish its citizens the power of enjoying union, safety, and tranquility, their natural rights and blessing of life. Whereas marathon attack victim Martin Richards' message of no more hurting people, peace has helped Massachusetts grieve through times of violence and create hope and inspiration in times of peace, and such message should continue to spread throughout the Commonwealth.
So this is the copy of the proclamation and the bill that we received from the governor's office. And as they said, Governor Baker challenged the kids to come up with 3 articles that they would like to include in the bill. So not only did they get the legislation passed, but they wrote part of a law that is now on the state of Massachusetts actual books. So we're very proud of all of them.
I would just like to say how thrilled and delighted we are to have such fine students in the district and have done such a wonderful thing. And I also want to make a motion to incorporate the letter of Senator Keenan and the law and the bill into the permanent records of the Holbrook School Committee in recognition of your major accomplishment.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That passes unanimously.
Did you have one more thing to say too?
No,
Both?
it's the
Okay,
same thing.
okay. The other thing is we're still working on the peace poll. We have Governor Baker, the Senator Keenan, and Mrs. Richard have pledged to come on September 21st when we dedicate the peace poll. So we're still collaborating with South Boston High School. They're creating it for us. We're hoping to take a field trip to see it soon, and we're still collecting money, so if anybody wants to donate.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Could we get a picture? With
Absolutely.
yeah. Oh, no.
Congratulations. Right. So now we turn to, Dr. Lally. That's all right. We have some items on your report, Doctor.
Yes, first up is our police chief, and he is going to talk about the walking, thank you, the safety issues for our walkers that are, if we do the busing greater than a mile. So he has a copy of the plan, and I asked him to talk about the crossing guards.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening, Chief.
If you go beyond the mile, you're still gonna need the crossing guards at Quincy Street and Weymouth Street. And the one at the high school, well, she does a great job. The one you have this year does a fantastic job. In years past, they've had ones out there that would always try to stop cars to let cars in, and you can't be doing that. But, so you're still gonna need those ones there, but if you go out down to a mile, you can eliminate those, because they're not gonna affect those zones. So,
So we wouldn't need,
just the one,
One.
yeah. I'm not sure exactly where the entrance to the new school is gonna be. Is it gonna be right where it is now?
it's, yeah.
Right where the exit is. So you'd probably
But
have,
there's still gonna be, there still will be 2 crosswalks.
Right.
And so it was recommended that, I mean, the start times are different.
right,
So that the pre-K to 5 would use the end closest to them, and then the 6 to 12 would use the end closest.
but there's gonna be no entrance at the one further, by the public safety building? The entrance is further down?
It's gonna, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
I don't know if I'd use 2 there. I would just use the one.
Well, I mean, I guess the first year, really the entrance is the current construction road, and the exit will be the current exit, because this will be sitting on the construction zone the first year.
Mhm. Yeah.
So maybe in the future, you wanna cut down to 1, so it's less confusing for people.
Yeah, and then you
Because you don't want
traffic in between.
traffic in
too,
between
yeah.
cars be
Yes.
jumping out and stuff like that. That would,
Well, I think that, feel free if you want to talk further with Trish and try to simulate it, however you wanna do it, Chief. You know, you're the public safety
Mhm.
expert, so we're relying on your recommendations on this. And certainly, you know, if you wanna play around with it a little bit in your mind and, you know, some
Okay.
scenarios, please, feel free to come back.
okay.
And you've been involved with the construction, so are there any other things that maybe that,
I went to the multi-hazard school planning, we had a training, and it was me, Scott Glover, and Mike went. And your school plan is very, very good. A lot of districts are gonna model after this plan. They like it so much, because we actually passed it out there. And, but one school district did something very interesting. They built a new school, and at the entrance of their school, they put it's called an LAPR, it's an automatic license plate reader. And what it does, it picks up every registration coming into your school, and it spits back to the police station. And what that does is, once it reads the plate, if someone's a sex offender, it'll flag and pop up. If someone has a warrant, it'll flag and pop up. Revoked registration flags and pops up. We wouldn't store the data, we would just utilize the data for that vehicles coming on the premises. It's permanently mounted, it's a camera, and all it does is takes a picture of the plate and a picture of the car. The school district that has it, they said they've solved so many vandalism crimes at the school because it's always being copied 24 hours a day, any vehicle that was on the property.
Nice added safety
It is.
feature and just another checks and balance.
And I could work on a grant for it. For one that's mobile for a cruiser, it's like $10,000. On one that's permanently mounted, it's a little more money, but I know there's grant money out there, and I could work on a grant and get it. People have no expectation of privacy in their license plate. Your plate can be read. It's the problem with the data. We're not gonna store the data. We're not gonna do anything with the data other than read it, and it'll automatically key up in the cruisers that something came on the school that wasn't supposed to be there, and they can respond right away. And this school, it's the Medfield School District. It's outstanding, they say. They really, really like it. You gotta use the technology when it's out there, because it just keeps people off your property that you do not want on there. Because you don't know who's gonna be there with, you know. If someone pulls up and, like I said, a sex offender owns that car, it's gonna flag it right away. And we're gonna know that car just pulled in. Otherwise, you'd never know. So, but it's food for thought, what you think about it. It's, you know, I just think it's the way to go in the
Do you have a
future.
brochure on it, Chief, for some more data?
I do.
Read?
I do.
Would you mind leaving that here
Sure.
with us?
Yep.
Maybe we can make some copies of that and disseminate it to the committee.
So if you're interested, I could start working on the grant, and I would, you know, I would do all the grant work, and it'd be permanently mounted. The device would be right at your entrance. The only key thing is, I'm not sure when I get the grant, but you'd have to have power out there.
We
The sign will be
do,
down there,
we
so it
do,
won't be a
for the
problem.
sign,
Okay,
right?
okay, that's all you need is the power. And it would go back to like a computer screen in our dispatch, and we just read.
Why don't we put this on our agenda for the next meeting?
Yeah.
And we'll get
I'll
back
gather
to
some
you.
more information.
That would be great.
Yeah, it just,
In the
I
meantime,
think it's
you
great.
can Make a copy of this for everyone.
But your school plan, you can ask Mike, people are like, wow. Because the only thing we have to work on is the kids will be transported to St. Joe's if anything happens. And from St. Joe's, we got to get them to our next point, which is the bowling alley. And we learned at this training that because we're an MBTA community, we can call in their buses, and they'll utilize their buses to move the kids down in an emergency. Yeah, so, but like I said, you should be very proud of yourself, because people were like, wow, Hobart did a good job, so.
Nice. Any other questions, Chief? Yes.
Just, getting back to the transportation and the, traffic flow. Any thoughts, about the larger group of walkers, in like the Revere Acres area? We talked about this at our last meeting.
We're coming down South Franklin.
Or, yeah, as far as arranging kind of traffic flow for the kids, as it were, or for the walkers, from a safety standpoint.
I mean, that's a heavily traveled road. I mean, when school's opening and closing, traffic crawls, so I don't know how you're gonna change it.
Well, there is room for 87 cars to queue around the building, which will hopefully alleviate
Well,
some of the backup on 37.
Right, the biggest problem is gonna be while you have that single lane coming down, and cars are trying to take a left, and they can't get out, they're not gonna be able, cars can't take a right, it's just gonna back up. Till you get that double lane down, then it's gonna ease it up.
I suppose before you get to the street, the other issue is, you know, within the community itself, if you're gonna have a lot more children walking, is that gonna present a need for some, you know, guidance
Yeah, from a safety standpoint.
from a safety point of view?
I don't know, I have to think about that, what to
Why
do.
don't you think about it,
Yes,
let us know.
somebody to handle that. I know there's plans in the future to do South Franklin over with the state, that's on a TIP program, so
Right.
if they did that, they'd be widening the road, all new sidewalks and everything.
Right, I think that's gonna be in the third stage.
Yeah, so, but,
But why don't you give that some thought?
I will.
Because we do think about that too, you know, kids walking that hadn't been walking, that might pose in their neighborhoods, you know. Good.
Yeah, and I really appreciate you bringing up the, the idea of the plate reader.
That's a great
You know,
tool.
Yeah, and,
Because-
what I see each and every day, and I'm sure you,
Yep.
of course, you more so as well, it's, anything we can do to help.
just
kids
keep
safe.
people off your property, you don't want on there.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
it'll be deterrent too.
Yeah, absolutely.
People don't know, if you go to the Rentham outlets,
Mhm.
when you pull up, it's a big sign, that's a plate reader in there, reading everyone's plate. So, a lot of them, I think Social Plaza has one too,
Yeah,
and it doesn't.
yeah, didn't even realize that.
You know? You wouldn't know.
Yeah, no,
It just
no.
spins the information, they can
Yeah.
tell,
Yeah,
if someone drove on the fields and did some damage at night, you wouldn't, if the camera didn't pick it up the plate, but this thing would pick it up in the nighttime too.
yeah.
Now, does it read the back plate? Because not everybody has a front plate. I mean, there are fewer and farther between.
Most of them have front plates now, but you could have one device going this way, one device going that way to get both. Yeah. It just looks like a camera, if you saw it, it looks like a camera. Or you could hide them in, if you had a cement structure, you could hide them in the structure too. But,
Yeah, because the sign will be going in at the
You can, like,
entrance.
you can put them behind the sign, wouldn't even see them, yeah.
We'll definitely take this up at our next meeting and food for thought.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Steve.
Jake.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
When's the next meeting?
2 weeks.
That's for tonight, so.
23rd.
I think it is the 23rd.
Okay. And I'll see you next Tuesday about that? Okay. Right, same place?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Take it easy.
Thanks, Jake.
So next, Dr. O'Malley, this is AA SA conference.
So I just attended the AASA conference. It's the National Superintendent's Conference. And I just wanted to talk about the 3 issues that they are working on this year, and they're important issues to us too. The first one is that, the phrase public schools are failing. They are trying to combat that idea because, from their research, they see that it's far from the truth, that now more than ever, we have more graduates, more kids graduating and fewer dropouts. So that is, there is no substance to what they're talking about, and that's going to be their campaign to lobby and to promote the idea that our public schools are doing very well and that students are very successful after they get out of here. The other thing was charter schools and vouchers. They're, obviously, that's not good for public schools, and they were presenting the idea that there is no research that supports that students are better educated from charter schools, and so they are the lobbyists for the association are trying to fight what we know is going on in the government. The third thing is something that's been that we've always had an issue with, that's funding IDEA. And so that is an ongoing issue that hopefully there'll be some federal assistance with that, because we have enough initiatives going on trying to do our foundation budget and trying to figure out that equation. And funding from the federal government usually is like 3% of someone's budget, so it's, or 3% of the budget for education. It's not enough to help, places like us especially, but so many people who are struggling with that. And the other piece of the conference I wanted to talk about was I was asked to present at that conference on the topic of bereavement and loss in schools. So, but a major point or a major part of my presentation involved the work that was done by a district-wide team last year of health staff and counselors, psychologists, who developed a crisis response that we could use in case of a tragedy or loss. And these people got together on a frequent basis and developed a protocol that we did use and could use for this type of situation. And so I want to thank them for the work they did, because this is now, it's been out to a national audience that really appreciated what was done here in Holbrook. That is that. And the next is digitizing yearbooks. Do you want to speak about this, Chris?
Sure.
She's here, so I figured you might want to, and I have your handouts if you want.
Why don't you
Oh,
come
yeah,
here?
come on up.
That's all right. I don't have an extra chair for me.
So here are your,
Hi.
that's another one.
Okay.
So I have your,
We've been fortunate, we have a great opportunity to take our yearbooks from 1915 all the way up to 2005 and put them in digital format. Many benefits to that. Number one, they're starting to fall apart, and we want to preserve the history of the school, especially now as we go into the next chapter. Number two, like I said, the condition isn't great on some of them, so we can preserve them digitally. We're going to go up to the year 2005, simply because we want to respect the privacy of some kids who may not have wanted to be photographed as they age into adulthood. So by 2005, those graduates have sort of passed into their 20s by now, so we feel we've reached a good mark at 2005. We did a lot of research on the copyright implications of this, and are we actually allowed to do it? Did a little homework, and anything published before '79 is now in the public domain if it doesn't have a specific copyright on it. Our yearbook publisher in the '80s was Balfour, who does our rings now, also known as Taylor, And they have informed us, I have it in writing, that we own the copyrights to the yearbooks that they have actually provided us. Lifetouch, which does our current yearbooks, have given us the go-ahead for yearbooks up to 2005. So I did a little bit of homework, and I think we seem to be in the clear. So just wanted to let you know of that project. This is at no cost to the district, and it is what schools are starting to do as these books age.
That's a great idea.
Yep.
So we have some,
Okay.
Chris did some research here if you want copies. of
Yeah,
it.
Attleboro put theirs on, and the response has been favorable if you're interested in looking
Who's
at.
actually doing,
Avon has done theirs.
No, who's doing the digitizing?
Oh, I'm sorry, the Commonwealth. It's called Digital Commonwealth through the state. Yeah. The Boston Public Library came today and picked up the books. Yep. And it was actually great. The Holbrook Historical Society could fill in some gaps that I didn't have. So we've got most years, we don't have all, but we have 90% of those years.
that's a smart thing.
Yeah, and we'll keep the paper ones as long as they, they survive, but it wouldn't be a bad thing to get rid of them when they're not in great condition.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Yes,
So
please.
once they're digitized, anyone will have access to them.
There'll be a link from Digital Commonwealth, from their site, and then we can link it to our site as well. Yep. Yeah,
Great for
That's
storage
exciting.
too,
Right.
Storage.
right.
I like this that you had too, because it gives a chart on just where the copyright ends and what the conditions are, so maybe.
Sure.
You'd like to give these
Pass
out.
those around?
So this is kind of useful here on the second page. Good research.
I did some homework.
I'm glad you came.
Yeah. They estimate between 10 and 12 weeks, depending on, their workload. But like I said, when they came today, she figured 10 to 12 weeks would be the timeline to get it done.
Thanks so
Yeah,
much.
you're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay.
And the
All right,
last,
Doctor.
okay, we have one last piece here, so, building update. Some of the, there are a few changes in the transition plan, so I will pass that around. And, part of it was about the, if you look at page 2, one of the important things is the fact that the moving company has been selected from the bids. And so Calvin Highfield has come out and he's spoken to the JFK and the South, and he'll be taking care of the the junior senior high school on Monday. So he's talked to them about boxes, moving, all of those pieces of the project. So that's an important piece. We all know about the logo contest, that's another piece here, so that's gonna be moving along. Put in the part about the athletics where we had proposed that at the FinCom the other night, so that's under the athletic piece. I should have highlighted. And so that also depends on the budget, so we have that in there, and, there's no final determination on that, but obviously, that will be something coming up soon. I did update the transportation piece, because Trish did a great presentation at the last meeting, and no vote has been taken, but there were a number of scenarios that were presented, and I also put in there about Chief Smith coming here tonight. And so that would be transportation, athletics. I have some about technology, but it really doesn't fit into the chart. So the other building updates are, today we had a meeting with the furniture subcommittee, and this was to choose the final items from the bid list that will go to the permanent school building committee. So some of the items, we got other similar bids for it. Oh, that's just my update. Is this some? What is it?
Supporting documentation. We
You got them last time.
That's the
Yes,
last one?
yeah,
All right,
yeah.
so we're just adding it onto this.
Yeah, instead
There are no
of printing out the
changes to it?
papers, no, not for the supporting documents.
Okay.
Yeah, because that,
Assuming if there are, you would give us.
exactly.
updates.
Mhm.
Okay.
I could print out our request from the FinCom, but you have them already, so.
Okay.
So the furniture subcommittee, there was furniture in the, out in the trailer today, and so that was what the committee looked at. And we had to cut some because of the size of the budget, and we had to keep within the budget, so we had to cut some things or downgrade some of the pieces. But we kept in mind we placed a priority on what the teachers had chosen when they looked at the furniture. So their desks, chairs, student desks and chairs, those we kept as they were requested. And, some other things that were more minor were, they were good substitutes, but they were substitutes that may have, kept us within budget. So we looked at those, and those will be taken to the Permanent School Building Committee on Wednesday. We also met with Flansburgh and SMMA today, the architect and the owner's project manager, to discuss additions to our preschool and our kindergartens so that we would be able to apply for the National Association for the Education of Young Children accreditation. So it was really, it was a very good meeting where we have almost everything in place that will help us pass that accreditation. And there were some adjustments that needed to be made in some purchases in our FF&E budget. So this was the time to do it and make sure that we got everything in there and that we would be able to pass that standard. The internet is up and running in the new school, and they've said that it is working very well. It's very fast. So we have a very robust system there. And today we toured the building briefly. We went over to look at the head end room and the servers and how that was going to be configured. And so we also took the opportunity to look at a few of the rooms, and the gym floor was installed today. You would have loved to have seen it. You'll get it. And many of the floors in the classrooms and other areas have been installed. Glass walls around the fitness center. I don't want to keep saying these in front of you. I know. They've been installed. Cabinetry has been is partway finished in the media center, so it really is looking like a school, and it's starting to take shape, and it's looking fantastic.
That's it. Any questions for Dr. Levin?
Well, we're gonna add a couple other things to the transition plans. The use of the Kennedy and South School, what's to happen with that, naming of the school.
Oh, yeah, we can talk about that a little bit. This issue came up somewhat unexpectedly, I guess, in terms of what was in the budget at the finance committee meeting. Why don't we talk about this under new business? All right.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Just to add to Dr. Lowry's building report, I was fortunate, I took an extensive tour of the building last week for the purpose of taking pictures and documenting the new building. And it is really amazing that, and the pictures are posted on the info page, and I paid special attention to, the splashes of color on the walls and the floor tiling so that people could get an idea. The furniture started to come in, like the fixed furniture, like the cubbies and for the little kids and the science tables and all that stuff's going in, but ceilings are up, floors are down. It looks really great, and, a lot of pictures, and the reason for the extensive tour is Consigli is supposed to approve the pictures before they get publicly posted, so.
Now, I will ask Vice Chair Tolson, and I was remiss to, last few meetings, we've been doing that, taking us at the superintendent's report. Do you have anything to add? Meetings?
Well, on the decommission?
No, not that, on the permanent school.
Oh, the permanent school building. No, I had a question, just on.
Sure, go ahead.
Just, I'm curious, what did you have to add for the NAUSC? What kinds of things?
So in the pre-K, we need to add those, some type of a changing apparatus, so it can be the kind that come off the wall or the
Yeah.
changing tables, but we're hoping that we can get the ones that come off the wall because they will take up less space. And we need to have water in every room that's available, so we're talking about getting those without the hot water.
Yeah.
And some of the things were materials that were in the room, so blocks, you know, they were pretty specific about different things, you know, a push-pull toy had to be in the room, something to ride on, a kind of a home kitchen table, you know, the whole, that whole play set. And we also, I'm trying to think of some of the things we didn't have to add a lot, because some of those things we have, but we have to extend it to kindergarten too. And that was, you know, so we have some of these things, but we don't have one for every room. So we're gonna add those. We needed a first aid kit in every room, so that was a good idea. CO2 detectors are built into the ceilings, are into the ductwork, so we're just going to get a statement from the builders that it's up there, because otherwise we won't be able to show it to them. We didn't have to get fire extinguishers, which was good. We have a lot of the stipulations we passed because it's new, so it's going to be, you know, we're saying it has to be clean, it has to, you know, no obstructions, has to be handicap accessible. So we have all of those in place. So it really was a limited amount. And Cheryl took, you know, went in and took her, you know, and went in and found the materials we needed today. And, you know, so we're going to be prepared to submit those along with the FF&E final lists. So that, you know, it was very timely. Yeah, yeah. So that was kind of a nice thing that one of the people from SMMA has done this on many, has worked with the different schools to get that certification. So, and he also has little ones that he's, you know, so he's checked it out when he's gone to pick a daycare. And so he's been very helpful with some of the points, because he knows, you know, the interpretation of some of it too, that, you know, is in the regulations, but, you know, sometimes it's a little vague.
And my other question, not related to that, was just, where are we with the technology training? I know we've talked about it at the building meetings and it.
Right. So Jorge has created a presentation or PowerPoint that people can access about storing your files. Also, he offered one course so far, and the others are going to be scheduled. We have to put them through our PD, you know, schedule and make sure that they line up with, that we're not going to conflict with what's going on as far as, so we want to get some in before the building's destroyed, and we can do some through the summer too.
Answering that question, I just finished setting up the templates for the Google Drive. So we're going to have 12 tutorials ready for 2 weeks. So every single teacher can see the needed one. So they're going to have the instructions of the projectors, they're going to have instructions for the computers. And I'm talking right now with one of our representatives in order for us to have like a site where they can go and try Windows 10, because we're going to change from Windows 7 to Windows 10, which is going to be a huge jump for many teachers. So we're going to have like a space that they can play with it. We're working on that right now, but they're going to play with it so they know, and the tutorials are going to be in 2 weeks.
So I know that we have some tech training built in with the things we're purchasing. That training will happen right before school opens, is that?
Right before, probably right before school opens.
Yeah.
And, but some of the things that Jorge's doing, so they can, you know, kind of get a jump on it, but also have that, it will reinforce what is offered, because they aren't going to be here that long, or they're not going to be, you know, individually training people. So I think we're going to, you know, this is going to be a nice way of having, you know, coming at it from 2 angles.
Yeah, the problem that we have is when we have training teachers, we are being available, actually, even weekends, but we have problems with teachers coming to the trainings. So one of the things that we're going to do for this training that you are mentioning, we are going to videotape it, and we are going to have a site actually on YouTube with all these trainings arranged for them, so they can have access on them and just watch them when they have things.
which is probably one of the most helpful things that people do now anyway, is look on YouTube for anything, for how to do something. So, you know, I think that's gonna be a nice, another backup, that'll be good.
Yeah, we have two backup plans.
Mhm.
Any other questions? None? All right, anything else, Don?
I think that looks like the end of mine.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll now turn to the financial update with Trish Lugo, school business administrator.
Okay, good evening. So you should have 3 financial reports in this meeting's agenda. The first report is the payroll portion of the budget, and that's running smoothly. Everything's on schedule, so there's no surprises there. The second budget is the operational portion of the budget. And again, that's running smoothly. We've started to look at purchase orders in the system to see what purchase orders can be liquidated or deleted. And so from this point till the end of the year was when we really focus on cleaning up all of the purchase orders and whatever's encumbered, either it has got to come in or we've got to liquidate and cancel it out. So from this point forward, there's going to be a lot of work in the operational side of the budget. And then the third financial report is the grants for FY17. And we have 6 grants this year. Each grant is on its own page, and it has the balance listed there as well. And if you looked at the grants, they're all in positive balances. They're all healthy. They're all being run appropriately by the grant managers. These 6 budgets give us, these 6 grants give us another $612,000 towards our budget.
How have we addressed some of the auditing issues that were raised at the last presentation by the auditor for this fiscal year? The changes been made?
Oh, absolutely. Oh,
Are we
absolutely.
in compliance?
Oh, yes.
We're in full compliance?
Oh, yes, yes, especially with the new town accountant on board as well. She makes sure everything gets put through.
And when is
properly.
that software coming into town?
July 1st, it's going to be up and running.
That's gonna be exciting. That's gonna
It
save you
is.
a lot of.
Oh, yes, and the town as well.
Great.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. Matter of fact, we just got the official new chart of accounts today sent to us, so I've got to review that and make sure that it's all correct. So I get to do that over the weekend.
When I was a school representative on the board that Nancy sits on now, I was trying to, capital improvement, I was really trying to push for that because it's
Yeah.
so dysfunctional.
Mm-hmm.
That they had a different accounting system than we
Mm-hmm.
had. And the time you spend just trying to reconcile it is,
We have to reconcile the books monthly,
yeah, it's an awful thing.
and we won't have to do that because the town will be able to see our records. So if there was anything that stood out, you know, Beth would catch it right away.
It's great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Trish.
You're welcome.
Well, let's now turn to some discussion items. First is the budget, of course. And will those scenarios of the budget, we were granted certain percentages, what the effect was, will those share with anyone, in other words, what the amount of a deficit would be?
No, that just went to the negotiations meeting last night.
You probably should, because I don't think that's I think that impacts the budget as a whole. People ought to see that. I don't think that's a negotiating topic per se. It's really a budget topic. Do you have that handy, that last page?
I can go get it if you need me
I
to.
have it, yeah. So, it
The
basically
one that has the cuts.
seemed to say if you were around 2%, we got a 2% increase from the town, that we would be short, or the cuts would be in the amount of $523,489.
Mhm.
That if it was 2.9, it would be 455,771. If it were only 3%, it would still be 388,067.
Mhm.
You know, and I know that the finance committee was arguing it was a little less than 2 as the school districts as a whole, and they were defining that as the Blue Hills and the bucket. But, I mean, I think we need to really, anyone who's interested in school programs, we really need to make the case that this budget is going to be much more than 3% increase in order to do the things that we want to do. And that, as I said at that school committee meeting, the eyes of the Commonwealth are going to be looking at our year 1 budget in this new school, because dignitaries will be here and they want to see that we're putting up our fair share. And I'm hoping that whether people are inclined to do that or not, they would recognize when you move into a new place, you have some added expenses and things that you do to get things started right. And I don't know how the rest of the committee feels about that.
Well, I mean, given that that's not even a level services budget. I mean, level services is 5%.
That's right.
So at a barest bones minimum, we've got to get a level services budget. I mean, I don't know from where, but that has to be at the bare minimum as a level services.
I know we'll keep fighting for, as much as we can get on this. I'm going to be meeting later next week with Mr. Gore, and I understand he's going to be meeting with the finance committee sometime at the beginning of next week. And, but I think we're all going to have to get on the horn here, and by I don't just mean our committee, I mean the public as a whole, are interested in the schools. This is one thing to say, why don't we have this and why don't we have that? Well, some of the reason is our town has got to say, hey, we've got a new building, we're gonna make the school the best that we can possibly be, and have an honest appraisal of what's needed maybe in the other areas of town that can live with maybe something a little different this year in particular. That's my thing. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, people need to be aware, and I don't think people are, that, getting 3% means significant cuts, and I don't think people are aware of that. So, to get that information out there so that people can advocate for our budget is important.
Yeah, 2% would be devastating to the schools, and, I mean, we're looking at over 8%, I think there's gotta be give and take on both sides. We gotta see what we can do to, restructure and to do, more with what we have, but, we're not gonna be able to restructure to the point of 2 or 3%, we need to see, some greater funds.
Bless you.
But work on both sides.
Very good.
Others.
Is there anything you'd like to add, Dr. Lally?
I did bring it, I'll get it.
Yeah, I think that, so we have this with the computer teacher on it too, so if you want that, I think Trish has the memo.
Well, I don't want to get into what we don't know on it yet. I think let's try to see what we get. That's going to be.
Oh, okay, so,
Understand that. Okay. Is there anything else to be said on the budget discussion tonight? All right, now we'll turn to, let's see, what is, school committee survey results. Member Davis.
Unless, I know we have a lot of policies.
That's all right, go ahead, go right.
there it is, no, it's right there.
Maybe we should just.
Shut off
turn the
I was
lights
gonna say,
off.
these, I think, probably.
Working on, so we'll have to wait.
It's warming up? Yes. Okay,
Yeah.
so while it's warming up, why don't you warm us up, Member Davis, and just give us a brief overview here.
That maybe no tap screen.
Well, it's football, you're right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do you want to go to the slideshow?
Yeah, please. You're right, sorry, I've gotten used to that. So basically, we got 341 responses, and no, I'm not gonna read all the slides. The first time we did it, there were 353 responses, and, but I didn't do any paper copies. Unlike last time, we said I had to manually input all of them. Many more parents responded to this survey than last time, and I think that's a good thing, because that's one of the stakeholders. I mean, more parents and more teachers and more staff responded to the survey, which, you know, is partly the purpose of it, so. Do you believe the public schools are adequately funded? Predominantly no, although the alumni, the yes is considerably higher than it was last time, and the community is lower than it was last time on the yeses, but the no is predominant. We believe the public schools are spending its money in the most efficient way. Again, the no's are much higher this year than last year, although there were also more people who weren't sure. And there was a short answer question, and again, I'm not gonna read them all, you know, we all have copies, and we'll post this, but, as far as the students, and there are some recurring themes, too many administrators, spend more on teachers and students and not central office, more funding for technology, put more money into the arts, more communication. Teachers, and I really felt that the comments were useful, and I should preface this all by saying I deleted any comments. I mean, I don't believe in censorship, so this is copied and pasted as it was, but I deleted sentences or comments that discussed specific people. I took those out, I corrected some typos, but otherwise, everything was copied and pasted as it appeared. I did not censor. But again, listen to teachers and students, make sure each department has adequate funding, engage with teachers, cut flavor of the month math curriculum, not just order during the end of the year, get teachers the resources they need, proper staffing and materials for teachers, cut wasteful spending, listen to the staff, provide resources to teachers who are asked to implement the new programs. Administration costs are too high and not enough goes towards tools for the job. And, you know, like I said, I'm not going to read them all. There were a lot of comments, and we got copies of this last meeting, and, you know, that's what it is. The parents listen to what students and teachers want, focus on adequate spending. There was a comment about the not user-friendly website. I don't know if we can do anything to kind of make it easier. I know I've had problems looking for stuff, and I know what I'm looking for. So, you know, it's just a, you know, suggestion. Money spent in a top-heavy manner. And the reason there are multiple slides is because I didn't want to use 3-point type because nobody would be able to see it. Be more involved in the school, try and make sure teachers have proper supplies. Be proactive, not to incur unnecessary expenses, programs addressing physical and mental health education, be competitive with the curriculum, seek varied additional after-school groups. Alumni, hold all staff accountable, listen to parents, equal emphasis on all aspects of learning, including STEM, sports, and the arts. Arts are important. Community, again, listen to parents, teachers, and students. Consolidate as many things as possible. line item budgets. School committee needs to do more to promote our school system. We don't do enough of that. Tell us where the money's going, less administrators, listen to parents, attend events. And many, many more. Like I said, I just, picked a
Thank
few
you.
highlights from each group, we can all read.
I would like to say, first of all, how appreciative we are of the work you've done on this. And I do think the most useful data from what I can see is some of the earlier questions about, what people think about the school district. I think when we get into specifics, however, about particular, let's say curricula or programs, you really need, in the future, to have some kind of an anchor to make it relevant. So
Right.
in other words, who's saying what, how informed are they about the subject matter that they're talking about, is it just those
And,
sort of things?
obviously, some questions will change next time around, because it's meant, certain core questions will be the same, because otherwise you don't get the comparative data. But also, other questions, presumably next year, if we do it in the spring, which would be my suggestion, now there are questions that can be added, what do you see, how do you think the new building's going and moving into there, and are any needs that come out, that kind of thing. I don't know, that's just off the top of my
Questions
head.
about the respondents is what I'm thinking, because I think you need some kind of a base as to what the person is who's giving you an answer.
Perhaps, but again, this is totally anonymous also.
That's true,
And,
but that can be anonymous.
So, we can, obviously, next time around,
Education
have that
level
kind of
and proficiency in certain
discussion.
things, I think that's helpful, you can say,
Community service requirement, the teachers and parents, the percentages went down. The alumni and community, the percentages went up. That people felt whether there should be a, community service, requirement. What kinds of students, what kinds of additional courses? The arts, and that was a large increase from last year. Foreign language, they're in order of, highest to lowest. Science, social studies, this time around, nobody selected none, for what that's worth. Some specific courses, A&P, dance, painting, anything with the arts, theater, communication, a lot of these are the same, as last year, and again, people see the need or the desire that it's something clearly not in next year's budget, but that we need to kind of plan for, to, institute these things. And then this was part of the foreign language survey that was done at the high school. Dr. DeMello kind of wanted a broader base. So here's the list of options and the percentages. And I ranked them by the student percentages. American Sign Language is clearly a really popular offering on both the students and the parents, and so there are the kind of desires there, and then just is learning a language other than English important or not, and it's obviously the majority is important or very important. Again, we're still on the student questions. Co-curricular activities, yes. This is considerably higher than last year. Last year it was 59%, yes. This year it's over 70%. So, we all know the more we can offer students, the more it will potentially keep them in school and keep their interest. But things like cheerleading, lacrosse came up a couple times, student organized clubs, dance, ballet. Do you feel you're adequately prepared? Predominantly, yes. Do you feel listened to? The percentages are approximately the same as last time, so may need to be a little more work there. The grade breakdown. Teachers, do everything you need to do your job. Mostly not. Technology is a need. The percentages are very similar to last time, except for books, that has gone down by a fair amount. And technology is a little bit higher, and we know that will hopefully be taken care of next fall. Same thing with non-teaching staff. For them, technology and supplies are down considerably from last year, so they feel that they've got more of what they need. Additional courses, the SEL, basic computer skills, health, STEAM, several of them have come up multiple times. How much do you spend out of pocket? We all know teachers spend a lot of their own money. And these percentages, and I think some of it, the economy, not as many teachers spent quite as much over the past year than they did last year. That the figures for the $250 to $500 range, which is still a fair amount of money, is the percentage that went up the greatest. And in a perfect world, I don't think teachers should have to spend any money out of pocket, but we don't live in a perfect world. Parents, do you feel that Hobart Public Schools are meeting your expectations for quality education? More people were not sure than last year, and fewer people said yes. So we clearly still have work to do to bring that percentage up. Is communication adequate? That's about the same as it was last year. The majority think that there is adequate communication. What aspect needs to be improved? Technology is a little bit higher. Smaller classes is higher. More additional courses, more staff. Again, some things a lot of it's not in our control given the budgetary from the town. Bus transportation, fewer students said yes, but way more parents said yes. And then the other ones are accordingly. So, yeah, I mean, we know clearly that transportation is an issue, and this day and age, obviously even more so. Alumni, what can be improved? Course offerings, which is lower than last time. Actually, the class size is the only one that, no, I'm sorry, that went down. Other went up, but the rest of these percentages actually went down from last time, so from what they know, apparently they're satisfied. Do you receive adequate communication? predominantly no, and again, this is about the same as last time. So that means that nothing's changed and we haven't really improved that communication. The alumni, here are the percentages. Most of them are prior to 1980. I think those are mostly the ones on social media. From the community, the public school's an asset to the community. The yes has gone down a bit, and the not sure has gone up. So, and the do you receive adequate information? The no has increased considerably, so we clearly need to do a better job getting the word out. Some takeaways from the results, up-to-date equipment, including technology, and we know that's coming in the new building. That we need to do a better job at promoting the school and keeping students. There's a perception of being top-heavy administratively. Don't offer courses with minimal enrollment. Listen to parents, teachers, and students. That came up regularly. And I think that there are some things we can do, as far as doing a better job and getting info out. We can make better use of social media. I mean, we have a public schools Facebook page. The curriculum department has a Twitter account, and more frequent updates, and by more frequent, I don't mean daily, just a little increase might help. I don't know if it will work, but if you link the two accounts, then if something gets tweeted, then it automatically goes on to the Facebook page. I don't know if you can do it because it's two different owners, but I know I've done that, and it just, then you're reaching double the audience. And we could maybe make better use of the newsletters. I know it's been offered. I know, both the elementary and junior, senior high school newsletters come out weekly. We could take advantage of that and, put little blurbs in. I don't have anything specific in mind, just, tossing it out there. And
Okay,
questions or
so
comments?
I think what we'll do is, because of time constraints, why don't we continue our discussion on this at another meeting? And give us a chance to digest your very thoughtful presentation.
Yeah, I wanted to just say, you obviously put a lot of time and energy and work into that, Barbara.
Well, it's, the Google Docs, the Google Docs, kind of tabulates everything, although you have to kind of retype it. I can't just, because I don't want to just print that out, because, the questions that have been offered to everybody, it's easy to put in one, like a bar graph, as opposed to separate, having the same slide with the same, or multiple slides with the same question. So, I mean, I am transferring the data, but, really, it's already been tabulated, and not having to input 30 questionnaires. Well, it's important, it's part of our goals, and, this is.
To be continued. So let's turn now to school committee, subcommittee member reports. Are there any subcommittee member reports?
You just saw it.
I have, that's one. I have one, and I'm not on this subcommittee, the HCAM. I just received a phone call stating that I guess the town council would prefer to have a license as opposed to a lease. So he's redrafting the entire agreement. And I said, well, I'm sure the subcommittee would be more than pleased to take a look at it. I'm not saying that's what we're gonna do, but you seem to think there are a lot of benefits to it, so.
Well, will that satisfy the HCAM goal and the need to?
I don't know, but I said, I can't conceptualize in my head what he had in mind. So I said, well, I'll draft it up and let the subcommittee take a look at it.
What was the rationale for that?
Well, there's a lot of different ones. Leases, licenses are more flexible than leases, and they have more of a
understand what that means
I don't
from a
either.
legal
I
standpoint.
don't either until I see it. I'm from Missouri. I wanna see it, so I don't think we should be
Yeah,
even debating something we don't have in our
And
hands.
my understanding is we're gonna get it, you know, early into next week, it's not like it's gonna tie it up.
Right.
So, yeah, and they, you know, they think from that point, you can go on to the bond council and that'll turn around really quickly too. So we should have it ready for the
Okay.
next meeting.
That's my hope, is to have it on the next
Mhm.
week. All right.
Yeah.
Because there are deadlines coming
Mhm.
up.
Right,
Yeah.
no, I
Yeah.
agree, but we
Yeah.
need to get the approval of the bond council, or else we're
Right.
talking a multi-million-dollar issue, so.
Yeah, and,
We need
and,
that.
and according to, you know, there doesn't seem to be a problem with it. They don't foresee a problem with it.
So you know, a little bit, you're on top of that. too.
Yeah, I actually talked to, town administrator today.
Oh, perfect, okay,
Yes.
thank you. And then I stole your thunder, I apologize.
That's quite all right. That's quite all right. But the message was.
You didn't share that with me.
He didn't
If
share
you
that,
had, I would've said
I
that.
asked those questions. How is this gonna affect, and he said, it won't affect the time.
All right. Subcommittees. We're going to get to another subcommittee in a little bit, but there's no current subcommittee further reports, correct? All right. So now we'll turn to action
Well,
items.
I just, you know, I don't know, this is not necessarily a subcommittee, but I just do wanna mention that the capital improvement committee has been meeting.
That's a subcommittee.
But, yeah, well, it's not a school committee, it's a subcommittee. so-
Well, no, you're a member, so for us, you are,
Right, yeah,
for us it is.
Right, so, I just, you know, we've met several times, and, I just wanna thank Julie and Mike and Jorge for attending those meetings and, being able to, talk about, the products that they're looking for. And they've done a great job of explaining it and justifying the need for the tractor and the IT needs, you know, the IT needs, they're very, very complicated, essential and complicated, and they just did a fabulous job of explaining, how the school's handling that, so thank you.
And there's a motion, there's gonna be a motion at the town meeting to reduce the floor on that, so that will help us even more, won't it?
It absolutely will, then it will allow us to, you know, hopefully, you know, purchase the, you know, tractor, the multi-purpose tractor for the school, because it's under the current threshold.
Great. Okay,
I'm sorry, could I interrupt for a minute? The
Yes.
personnel is down here, it should be up under mine.
Go ahead.
So, the new hires were Elliot Frank, who is teaching science at the junior senior high school, and Jennifer Carr was hired as a permanent paraprofessional at the JFK.
excellent. Thank you.
Sure.
I'm gonna defer on the school committee members' reports to our next meeting. Mr.
Well, we
Time,
deferred the
unless-
last meeting.
What?
We deferred the last meeting.
Well, and would you mind terribly if we deferred it again?
I wouldn't mind terribly, because I
would?
deferred it last time along with the survey. So yes, I would mind.
All right, well, since you mind, and I'm not going to make put it
Thank
to a
you.
vote or anything, please go ahead.
Thank you, because some of these things were timely.
Yeah.
I did attend the tournament basketball game and the junior senior high school activities fair tonight. And last night was the South Beginner Band and the STEAM night, which was very well done, and thanks to Mrs. Stevenson for our STEAM coordinator for coordinating all that. Last Saturday, I attended a workshop sponsored by the MASC called Beyond Spreadsheets and PowerPoints and a Foundation Budget Primer with Tracy Novick, the MASC field rep, Brian Allen, Worcester Public Schools business manager, and Dave Vertolino from MASBO. It was a very extensive PowerPoint. Some of the information was in the workshop from the school committee conference, but there's lots of updated information and information on the foundation budget bill going before the Senate, which leads me into the next thing, where Tuesday night I attended the Commonwealth Conversations in Brockton. It was the Southeast Coast tour. 14 of our state senators were there, including Senator Keenan. A group of senators have been touring the state and holding town halls in each section of the Commonwealth. I actually got up and spoke and urged them, although most of them signed on to it, to support Senate Bill 223, an act modernizing the foundation budget for the 21st century. The bill will begin to institute the reforms to the foundation formula that was recommended by the Foundation Budget Review Commission report that we supported last spring, and pointed out how much many of our foundation line items are underfunded, and the reason that, like the teaching, the other staff, and the reason that they're underfunded is because the foundation budget is undercalculating the benefits line item to the tune of 2.2 million, and the special ed out of district to the tune of 1.6 million, which would more than cover the rest of the items that are being underfunded. And that's it.
Great. We'll now turn to the, let's go to the policies before we do the minutes. We'll save those for the end. Let's.
How about the survey?
Oh, I'm so sorry. That's absolutely right. These are action items. So we'll now get off the discussion items and go to the action items. And the first is the Holbrook Cares survey. Did you have something to say on that, Dr. Lally?
It's been recommended by Dr. DeMello and myself to accept the survey to be given to grades 7 through 12.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to approve that survey as recommended. Second. We'll now have discussion. I had the opportunity this week to attend a Holbrook Cares meeting, and I have to confess, I really didn't know a lot about what Holbrook Cares did, and I was very moved to see all of the support and the help that Holbrook Cares offers, not only their own people who attend the meetings, but the community at large. I commented about the fact that I'm reading Rachel Carson's book, The Silent Spring, and she talked about a spring without voices, and how it took millions of years for man and nature to combine, and yet man has this incessant desire to create artificial chemicals. And of course, she was talking about DDT and pesticides that affect nature, but one of our biggest crises today are some of the drugs that are meant to help people end up changing and ruining the souls of people, and some of it is done carelessly, some of it's done through ignorance, some of it's done through the lack of time and attention that medical care providers are allowed to do, and it just impacts all of our lives. And so I want to applaud Holbrook Cares for starting the survey. My understanding is they want to do it every other year. They also talked about perhaps putting on some programs at the schools, which I think would be fitting with our policy about teaching about alcohol, tobacco, and drugs. And I've asked Dr. Lally to check into our policy on that. It does say that the curriculum, instructional materials, and outcomes used in this program shall be recommended by the superintendent and approved by the school committee. Hoping as part of that component, some of those presentations by Holbrook Cares can be, implemented. And I think this is just a small step in the right direction. We as a school committee have already expressed our sense of how important this is through our policy, and we certainly want to make sure that that is ingrained into the very nature of our schools. Would anyone else like to? Yes, ma'am.
I'm happy to support the survey. I have one very tiny requested change, and that is on question 2, just to change the word sex to gender. Okay. Which is the current correct nomenclature. Other than that, I didn't see anything else, and okay with me.
Anyone else? No? All right, we'll take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
That passes unanimously.
As amended.
Thank you very much.
As
As
amended.
amended. And the implementation, my understanding, is gonna be April 12th, and we wanna make sure that's in the motion too, so that's amended.
And did you want to put, you told me you wanted that Rebecca had mentioned that we have to send something to parents and.
Well, it's gonna follow the law, we have
Okay,
to
so
follow
we'll-
the advice of our legal counsel, so parents, you know, have to be notified of the law, so obviously it has to be done lawfully. The next item, the minutes, and that's the part that I'm gonna skip to the end here, because we've got quite a few policies to go through, and who would like to speak on these policies? Is there anyone here? No. Okay, so it's the second reading, and we'll just go through them. There are 12 of them.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, I mean technically, while we got them at the last meeting, it's technically the first reading, since we didn't do anything with them because the changes weren't discussed or anything.
I beg your pardon, I'm about to discuss that, all right? We're having a discussion, so let me just continue. We're gonna start with the first one, which is discrimination and, or non-discrimination. And it was crossed out in its entirety and has been replaced with a new non-discrimination feature. Who worked on these at the school? Cheryl? Okay. Have you read them?
I have read them, but I couldn't quote them right now, but yes.
Okay. In each instance, they have been updated, I would say. And would anyone like to talk about the first non-discrimination policy? It includes the purposes, conduct, complaint procedure,
So with regards to that, all the changes, Cheryl, you said made the changes.
Yes.
They vetted with the administration, they all reviewed.
You're right. She got the updated ones and gave them to us. That was.
There's no concerns
No.
with the leadership team or anything?
So we haven't had a leadership team meeting, so we really couldn't,
Do you not disseminate them?
we will, but they weren't a policy at that point, yeah.
because we're gonna have our third reading at our next meeting, and we do wanna make sure that everyone's on board with the language. We don't wanna have that issue that we had last time.
We'll be able to, we're having a meeting in between, so that'll be
Okay.
fine.
So if there are
Right.
some comments, if you could get them to me.
Sure.
Okay. We'll now turn to the complaint procedure for the discrimination, which is the next item. The ACE, and again, this describes the procedure. You'll see some changes primarily on the third page, starting on the third page, I believe. No, actually, there aren't any. They're just those changes that are reflected in the new document.
You're
So,
looking at ACE?
ACE, right.
ACE or AC-E?
AC-E. AC-E. And the, again, it's problematical, it's addresses, we'll take a look at it as an issue. The next one is ACA. And again, certain words have been changed, certain statutes have been referenced, cross-referenced. Next turn to ACA. And you'll see that substantially changed, as you can see. And the reason for that will become apparent.
So if I can just get back to what the ACE dash non-discrimination on the basis of handicap is,
Yeah.
they actually still use that term handicap.
No, it's been taken out.
So this is no longer the title.
No.
No.
No,
Okay.
that's right, exactly right.
Which one did you say?
This one, because it's written in here as the title.
Yeah, no, it's,
Yeah.
Okay. I'm referring to it.
With disabled, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
that's right. And then, the next one has again been substantially changed, and, that's ACAA, ACAB. Again, please, if there's something there that you think is off, let us know before the third reading. And then we have the new sexual harassment, which is ACAB. And then ACA, A-E-1. And you'll see that ACE has the change.
Yeah.
Okay. And the, again, updated with regard to the new language, a lot of work done on these, as you can see, on the ACE. And then the final form, they've been nice to put all the progressions in, what the original one was, the changes that were made, and then the final product. And not lastly, the next item here that we have is again going to be on AD, educational philosophy. Those were some minor changes. Educational philosophy, school district goals and objectives. Please look at those if you have any changes that you think are an issue there. So, equal employment opportunity, again, this is in conformance with regulation and statute. JICFB, likewise, the bullying policy.
Has, Rebecca seen the bullying one, because she drafted our original, bullying policy, different from MASC.
Right, that's a good
So I
question.
wanna make sure
I-
that-
Have these been vetted with?
We can send those to her.
Yeah, send them all, please.
Mhm.
Equal employment opportunity, same idea. And then the anti-bullying, we have.
Yeah, because Rebecca drafted the plan as well. The only thing I have is, somebody got a little carried away with the strikeouts, because Hobart Public Schools was stricken on the top on some of them, as well as the adopted / amended dates, and I think that those should stay, and just the additional date was added, because then you can see that it was updated and, over time.
Well, these are for our purposes, obviously what's gonna be in the policy is
Oh,
gonna be
yeah.
finished,
Yeah, I
finished
just wanna,
project, so.
just wanna make sure that, the header, because that's a little important, that it's Hobart Public Schools
Correct.
policy.
Well, if it's not on the final one, we're concerned about. It's, on those and not concerned about. Okay, so then we have an appendix A, incident reporting form. Again, appendixes, table of contents.
What do you, excuse me, I'm not sure where you are.
These are on the, I've gone to the appendix, bullying retail policies, bullying retaliation.
In the plan, is that the plan?
Yes, that's
Okay.
right. And you'll see an
Thank you.
appendix in the plan. And take note of that, and I think the point is well taken to make sure all of these are vetted. I thought we had established that as a rule, we have these things, we want them to. Okay. Now, we can go back to, well, let's go to old business first, and under old business, I think I'd like to take up this issue of the subcommittee, and Beth, you had some thoughts on that Bulldog contest.
Yeah, so I know the contest is underway, and I think what the best way to proceed might be to put together a small committee that would reflect different constituencies to come up with the process of how the logo would be selected, not to select the logo, but to come up with the process.
Advise us on the.
Right.
I think what it'll be is an advisory, you'll appoint an advisory subcommittee. It says, since this is a school committee initiative, I'm gonna ask Beth that you chair that. I think there's an interested member of the community here that would like to be on that. And maybe one other, let's say, parent, then some people from the community at large, someone that's an alumnus, someone that's a current student, someone that's a senior citizen, and no less than 5, but no more than 7 members. And I think that makes some sense. It'll help us finalize it, obviously, with the recommendation of the community at large, and I think that's a good idea.
Somebody from the school as well, somebody from the faculty, or?
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
I think that's right. So would somebody like to make that motion? I meant forming it, but somebody.
Yep, so moved.
Okay, second. All those in favor? Okay, that's approved. Good luck, Beth. The, under new business, I'd like to take up the issue that was raised, about the Kennedy and the South schools. And my sense of this is that the South School is in a different category than the Kennedy School for a number of reasons. And I did have some communication with the town administrator about this. My thoughts were that perhaps whenever we get the signal that the South School, for example, is no longer viable, that we can act pretty quickly on that. But with the Kennedy School, we have a lot of acres there. I don't know if it's 70 or 100 acres. And so I think there's a consensus even in the town that we want to reserve the right of way. We want to keep the playing fields. And the administrator's willing to have the engineers at Norfolk County make up a subdivision plan of some kind, which I think makes some sense, so that we can figure out what we're gonna keep and what we're not. Now, in the interim, there may be, and it may end up that it's more of a town issue than it is a school issue, but with regard to the building, there may be some kind of a solvent that may be needed to be placed in the heater. I don't think it's gonna be, full-time, keeping the building open type of a thing. He's looking into that from the, I guess the DPW had some thoughts about that, possibly. I haven't heard back from him. But as a holdover, I have suggested this article for the annual or special town meeting, whichever one it's going to be, to see if the town will appropriate a sum of money to protect the Kennedy School grounds for a temporary period of time until the plans have been prepared to subdivide a portion of the school grounds and take any other action thereon. And I think we will try to work closely with the town on this, and hoping that will be something that's not cost effective, but will be a special article. I think that they're pretty much on board with it, so I would ask that we take a vote to ask Dr. Lally to submit that to for the special or annual, whatever the case.
Do you want a motion to make that, and then have a discussion
Sure.
first?
Second.
Okay, yes.
So, before the article is filed, will we know what that sum of money is, and do we have any idea what that sum of, like a ballpark?
I'm not sure, but my sense is we would file a warrant article, simply a warning, the motion itself will be the dollar amount. And obviously, it's gonna, if it's something, that's a larger sum, that may be a different issue, but, my understanding is they're working on that angle of it, and hopefully they'll talk to you, Mike, about it, give you some feedback on, their opinion. I appreciate the work he did to give us a sense of it. But I think it's necessary to have some kind of holdover, so at least we can explain to people what's going on. Because that's an important issue, the playing field's an important issue, keeping a right of way is an important issue, so we have access to those fields. Because even though this is a spanking new school, 50 years from now or 40 years from now, we don't know what the population of Holbrook is gonna be. And they spent probably 10 years getting that land by eminent domain, and we're not just gonna give it up and ignore it. So I think we have some duty as custodians of school property to try to do something about it.
So the purpose of this would be to temporarily preserve the Kennedy until the land is subdivided?
Yeah, I think once the land is subdivided, then we're just gonna turn over that subdivided piece to the town and they can figure it out, so.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, the sum is probably gonna be as much in their interest as it is in anybody else's, because then they'll do a RFP, and those aren't gonna happen overnight anyway.
So for the purposes of the use of the fields and, hopefully.
Maybe a
some of
road.
The fields and open access, we need to
Second
have that, yeah, we
access.
need to have that delineated.
Yeah.
Right, I mean, we own all the land between here and there.
Correct.
And, while putting a road through is a bit pricey, at the moment, it's something to factor in, and of course, you can't do that
You don't own it.
if we don't own it.
Correct, so
So,
that's what
absolutely.
we're working on that, so I think that this will, any other comments?
So the South School is a separate issue.
I think the South School
Yeah.
is, I may be wrong, but my sense is that's one where we could just say,
Yeah,
here it
that's
is,
it.
and,
Once we're through with the summer
Absolutely.
program, because, we have the summer
Yeah, the
programs.
summer
and
program.
then-
Well, that's right, I mean,
Yeah.
how this will work is, it's a statutory thing, I mean, once we are notified that it was no longer necessary for school purposes, we have to make that determination.
Right.
I'm sure Dr. Lally will have a recommendation about that, and, then, based on that, we will take a vote, and then it will turn over to the town, and then at some point, they will have to, vote, on whatever they're gonna do.
So should we add these items to the transition plan?
Well, that's a different issue, I think it probably should have been there, but I mean, we definitely, it wouldn't hurt to put it in
Just
there,
to
sure.
keep it on the record
Right,
for-
I think there's nothing wrong with it. But let's take a vote on this, all those in favor, that passes unanimously, give a copy to Dr. Lally.
Yes, we do. Because we pulled, do you want to talk about the other one too, or not?
Yeah, what's the other one?
The other one is for the computer teacher for the elementary school.
Okay, why don't you talk to us about that?
So we wanted to put this on because we have, we need to relieve the paras to be able to cover the special ed assignments that they should be doing and have this computer teacher teach students and be available in the library where the teacher will be instructing students on the devices, but also storing them and making sure that that they're in good order. Plus, it is the piece about having the paras be able to do the special ed jobs.
So let me ask you a stupid question, why isn't this in the budget?
Yeah, I think
It's on page 9.
It is.
Yeah.
All
It
right,
is,
so why
but
are
if we,
why are
because if
doing
we,
this separate?
because I think from what the budget looked like the other day, we're probably not getting what's on additions, we don't have the level playing, we don't have a level funded budget. So we're not expecting that those things are going to be able to be put in. And so we're hoping that we'll get this
Well,
through.
all right, so let's have a discussion about that. What does the rest of the committee think about that? I mean, isn't that something we should be pushing for, or does this detract from it, or does it feel like we're getting extra money and they're gonna get ticked off, or what's the story?
I mean, it seems to me we can't really, or shouldn't be putting an article on the warrant supplementing a budget that we have not yet received.
Mhm.
And we won't receive it, I mean, that's usually around Article 4 or Article 8, and then all the other stuff is further on down, but
But the percentage that you're expecting, and you'll know, you said at the end of this week,
Well, I
maybe.
mean, so for example, why couldn't we do this? Why couldn't we, at the point where they're going to give us the budget? I mean, we're gonna know pretty much what they're gonna be asking by the end of next week.
Mhm.
So if it looks like after you've done your work on whatever we have,
Mhm.
that it's in or it's out, then maybe we could make the case to amend the budget for that amount of money, and maybe they'd agree to do that. 'Cause that's not, in the totality of things, a heck of a lot of money.
Right.
I think I'd rather try that. I mean, I don't know how the rest of the committee feels.
yeah, it's just, just be concerned about we're putting in a warrant article for a budget that hasn't yet been approved, or even a suggested dollar amount.
Right.
It's like putting the cart before the horse.
The articles aren't due until the 24th.
Of March.
March. So we figured you might have an answer by then, and we would then put that in, not until
All right, so
we
why don't we
knew.
table 2 for now?
Mhm.
And then I will raise that question with Mr. Boyd next week.
And see how we should address it.
All right?
Okay, that would be good, because we really need that, and if it's not going to look like we're getting the over 5%, then we probably would have to address it in a different way.
No, I think that's fair.
Right, I mean, we could, we could always do, the request to amend the budget
Right.
in the town
That's
meeting
right.
floor, because you don't wanna, I mean, it's a
I think it's a
perception
better
issue.
process. I think the people are there. There'll be other things that we might be able to take that from if that becomes an issue. Okay, so we'll make a motion to table item number 2 for the time being.
So moved.
All those in favor, it's tabled. Okay, now we'll turn to, is there any other new business? We'll turn to the minutes of the meeting, go back to the minutes of February 6th, February 9th, 2017.
Yeah, 16th.
February 9th.
It says on the agenda the 9th, but the meeting was the 16th.
Oh, the 16th, okay, I got you. All right. So, what do we want to do with those?
Can I just check to make sure that date, so
Yeah,
that's on the date.
It's correct.
Okay. Make a motion to approve the minutes of the February 16th meeting.
And I'll second that.
Okay. Any comments? All those in favor? All right. Anything else before the committee? Would someone like to make another motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you.